Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today, yea, and forever. I'm Vern Horsley for the Mulvane Church of Christ at 4th and Arkansas in Mulvane, Kansas, with a message from God's Word today. If someone claims to be the Son of God, we should expect him to have strong evidence to back up that claim. Notice I didn't say a Son of God, but the Son of God. Or as John puts it in John 3:16 and other scriptures, the only begotten Son of God. All of us are children of God in that we're all part of His creation, and therefore we're all brothers and sisters. But that's not what I'm talking about today. What evidence is there that Jesus is the Son of God? First of all, Jesus performed more than 30 miracles in the presence of numerous witnesses that are recorded in the Bible. In addition, John 20:30 and 31 tells us that Jesus did many other signs in the presence of His disciples, which are not written in this book, but those are written that we might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing we might have life in His name. Of course, the apostles and several other people also performed miracles, but none of them claimed to be the Son of God. To the contrary, they all taught that Jesus is the Son of God. Then there are all the people who knew Jesus personally, who saw Him after His resurrection. In Mark 16:9 we find He appeared first to Mary Magdalene. Then in Matthew 28:16 through 20 we learn that the 11 apostles who remained after Judas committed suicide saw Jesus and worshipped Him. And in Luke 24:13 through 32, Jesus had a lengthy discussion with 2 disciples. In John 20:19 and 20, we learn that the disciples assembled behind closed doors for fear of the Jews, and Jesus stood in their midst and spoke to them. And finally, John 21 tells about when Jesus showed Himself to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. Even if you don't believe any of His close associates, there was one occasion recorded in 1 Corinthians 15:6 when more than 500 brethren saw Him at one time, and most of them were still alive when that claim was made. Do you believe for a moment that Jesus' enemies wouldn't have challenged that claim and exposed it as false if several credible witnesses couldn't have been produced to confirm it? And it's not just the Bible that supports the accuracy of these accounts. Non-Christian sources such as Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, writing in 93 AD, and Roman historians Cornelius Tacitus, Thallus, Julius Africanus, Phlegon of Tralles, and Pliny the Elder, all of whom wrote in the 1st century, also confirm their validity. If you're interested in learning more about the resurrection, you may want to read The Message of the Resurrection by P. Beasley and published by Nottingham InterVarsity Press in 2000, or Leading Lawyers Look at the Resurrection by Ross Clifford and published by Sutherland NSW Albatross in 1991, and of course Matthew 28, Mark 16, Luke 24, John 20, Acts 1:9 through 23, and Acts 13:1 through 8. And that's part of God's Word today. The Church of Christ, it meets at 302 South 4th Street in Mulvane, Kansas, invites you to visit any of our Bible classes at 9:45 Sunday morning and 7 o'clock Wednesday evening, and our worship assemblies at 10:45 Sunday morning and 5 Sunday evening. We also invite you to visit mulvanechurch.com on the World Wide Web.